Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking out a new case. That's not such a new case, it's new to me. We're going to be taking a look at a case from HexGear, and it's the R40. Now we do need to get some little bits and bobs about R40 cleared up right from the very start. This is the R40, it's their M80X case. They do have an incredibly similar case coming, which is full-size ATX. Coming in the not too distant future. It's not quite ready yet, but you'll get the idea from this. So if you're not an M80X boy and you're an ATX boy, but you like the look of this, then it could be something for you to keep your eyeballs out for stuff in the not too distant future. Now, HexGear, it was started by Nate and Hans. Some of you may know Nate from the likes of E22 or the Gamer Nurse. That's a limited joke, but anyway, I prefer the Gamer Nurse anyway. Yes. Anyway, right, so HexGear. They've gone about this a little bit differently. It does come flat packed. Obviously, I've had to build it for you. The videos are long enough without you seeing me put these together. It can take a little bit of time for you to put them together. It's a good idea to look at the manuals. But one of the things I do want to say right from the very start is we've made this in what we would call a generic format, where the motherboard is the right way up, and as you look at it, the window is on the left hand side. So that is what we would call a generic layout. You can flip it round if you want, but if you flip it round and you want it to go round the other way and have it in a reverse nature with the motherboard upside down, then you will need to buy different accents, because that's something that's very clever with these boards. Is you when you originally buy it, it will come with black accents to have your board. Either way, you can choose at the store time, so you can choose whether you want it so normal or in a reverse nature, and it will come with black accents. But you can, if you want, buy extra accents in all kinds of different colours. I've obviously got red, so that we've got the red and white going on. And we've got this in red normal, but this is a red reverse. And when we get down to actually reviewing the case and we look at the side panels and stuff, I'll explain what the differences are. But blue, green, black, there's frosted, there's all kinds of different colours. I believe there's pink from when the Gamer Nurse had hers. So there's all kinds of different colours. So you can essentially, right from the very get-go, if you wanted one and you had yours white and black, and then you got a bit bored, and you had a red graphics card in, you could spend 30 quid and get yourself some red accents. Then 6 months later, you switch and you go over to the green team, you could then get yourself some green accents. It's very simple, and to change them, there are just 4 screws on the front that you can pop off. So in that respect, it means that it's infinitely upgradable, and where you can buy individual parts, it's already pretty good. But what we need to do is I'll bring you in, we'll give you a look around the case itself, do the review in a normal fashion, and then we'll obviously get meaty with the conclusion at the end. So yes, it's the first review in the new office. Let's see how it works. Hang on a minute. First case review. Case review in the new office. First case review in the new office. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so yes, this is the first case review in the new office, so it is going to be a little trial and error, but I will do my best. We would normally start at the front and the top, but the front, it literally is, you've got a powder-coated aluminium panel with the accent panel behind it. We've got red in this, but it would come normally with a black one. There is no direct airflow through the front. There is no grills here at all. This is all decorative. You do have a Vandal switch at the bottom, which is so soft and clicky. It's annoyingly nice. I could literally just do it. But the main bulk of the case is all to do with the 4 screws that are, or bolts that are at the front that you can see up here. And then they bolt into the profiles here, and everything is pretty much hinged and slid in around these. The roof up here, as you can see, you've got the hex in there. Well, when we spin round to the back, the hex panel can be slid out, exposing everything on the inside. That again, it's just a powder coated panel, and we've got the, we can now show you this way. Now I do have a normal AIO in the roof, and we've got the power supply here, But these panels, again, they're just bolted in when you build the case. So this top panel and the panel that we have in the bottom can actually be swapped around if you want. Power supply up here, they do send you with an adapter so you can get it in, and then at the back there are cutouts for the cables, as you can see up here. But like I said, if you were to swap them around, it doesn't matter, but you do have them at the bottom as well. So if you did want to reverse them around, all of the options are there. So now we're round the back, for want of a better term. What we can show you is that you've got 120mm fan mount at the back. You can see it's just a normal ATX layout. They do give you an extra slot at the bottom, and we can see that we have breathing holes on this one. One thing I will say is on this case, it should really have feet at the bottom. We should really, sorry, have feet at the bottom. But because the case got caught up with my move, the little acrylic feet that would raise it off the floor so that you have extra, so that you basically get more airflow into this panel, I will hold my hands up and say I don't know where they are. I put them in a safe place because I didn't want to use them, and the safe place are now doing far too good a job. But this bottom panel, again, can be removed very simply. And then you can expose, I mean, this one we have the ability to fit 3 fans, and you've got lots of adjustment for different spacing of the radiators and things like that. So there's plenty of options there for you. But like I said, if you wanted the 3 fans in the roof, you can literally just swap the panel around. You decide when you're building it. So it's all very easy. The breathing bits at the bottom are really just to be able to enable more airflow into the bottom of the case. But it's all really quite nice. If you're wondering what the fans are, by the way, they're EK Vardas. It was just the only all-white fans that I had that I could easily use in the build. So there we go. And like I said, you can literally just slide these panels in really easily. And like I said, where it is kind of a simplistic design, it does mean that if you wanted to paint them or make your own parts, like lots of modders have done, there's many options for you to do things like that as well. So let me spin the case around, take the panel out of the back, which I probably had the wrong way around, but anyway, we're round to the back of the case. Now this part of the case, you can easily see that you have mounts here, so you can put mechanical hard drives and you can put solid state drives. I've actually ended up using it as like a cable tidy. And then you have another one over here, which this actually really does make it a really nice tidy cable option. But there is lots and lots of room back here for cables. You really wouldn't have any problems. And the reason why it's also pretty obvious that there's going to be lots of room for cables around here, because we can get mechanical hard drives around here as well. So if you had 2 mechanical hard drives fitted, they would be completely concealed by the motherboard tray itself, so you wouldn't see that. But when we go round to the other side, this is what I would say is the business end of the case, and this is why I thought I had it the wrong way up before, because when you do take the side panels off, you lift them up and then you lift them out and then they drop out. And then this is what I meant by you needed different accents for the front and the back, because there are little cutouts, and this depends on whether the panel lifts up or down. So that is the difference between your accents, and if they're in the wrong place, you just have to stop so that you can't get them out. So that's the difference between the accents, and it does mean that, like I said, you can have the panels either one way up or another, and it does make a difference as well. But when we get into the business side of the case, I've got my power supply in the top at the front. As I've told you, there is no airflow that comes in the front panel whatsoever. I actually think I prefer my power supply up here rather than down the bottom, but it's completely up to you. Absolutely completely up to you. It just made a little bit more sense for me because I've got the, I'm using a H100i GTX. Now you could say that this is probably more suited to a water cooler, and I would agree with you as well. but I've gone with a more easily accessible kind of kit. And then all of you guys out there, if you're considering purchasing this, then you can use your imagination. Now, when we look up in the top of the case, we can see that I've got the radiator on the outside and a set of fans on the inside. Now you do have 40mm of room between the roof and the top of the motherboard, so you could have a 40mm thick radiator in here, or you can go above and you can basically, there's about 30mm of room in the roof. So depending on where you wanted to put your fans, there are your gaps. 40 this side, 30 on the other side. Down in the bottom, down here as well, 30mm of room in the bottom if you wanted to put the fans down there and then have the radiator in the top. Because if you have the radiator in the top chamber, you're going to have a lot more room. You will get to a point where, I mean, we've got 25 mil thick fans in here. You could probably get a 40 mil thick radiator in the bottom, but depending on what's on the bottom of your motherboard will depend on how thick a radiator you can get in it. So it might be something that you can play around with. But one of the joys with these is if you wanted to, you could easily either make a new one or even maybe mod one as well. I would say, if I was to say anything to HexGear, would be that maybe with this larger panel, it'd be nicer to have it slightly offset, just so that it was stepped away from the motherboard area a little bit more. Because when you put this in the roof, it's still the same way round because of the cable routing holes over here. So it's always going to be nearer the motherboard. So it might be nicer if they'd have taken this and maybe even just put it in the middle a little bit more, just so that it made things easier whether you had it on the top or the bottom. Anyway, when we do come to the motherboard area, you can see that I've not got any RAM in it at the moment because it's actually currently in another system. But down the side, you've got a really long area for the grommet. It is split, but there's no, it's basically just a pass-through. There's no grommets there. But even though there's no grommets, unlike something like the in-wing cases, because I know Justin's going to be going, no grommets at the screen right now. These are very tidy. They're just aesthetically pleasing. Yes, they are just cutouts, but they're very formed. They're very, you can see it just matches the motherboard. It's not all over the place. So this is pretty good. One thing I will say with the cabling is it is very on display with anything that you're going to do on this. So one of the things I would say is if you're going to, then I would think about getting yourself some custom cables. You can either do the stuff E22 cell custom braid if you want to do it yourself, or you can get yourself some cable mod cables like these are. But one thing I would say is, I mean, you can see that this looks a bit of a mess, but I've tried my best to get it tidy. They need cable combs. You can get those from E22 as well. So cable combs, I would say, would be well worth spending 10 or 15 quid on, so you can keep everything super duper tidy. But really, when we start kind of evolving out of this point, we've got most of the details down. We're going to end up starting to go into a conclusion. So maybe we should just go there. Okay then, peeps. So breaking off into a conclusion. The case is £200. And then if you want to change the colours and stuff like that, the accents start at around £30. So it's not a cheap case. Doesn't come with any dust filters, doesn't come with any fans. So it's not a mainstream case at all. So if any of you out there now are saying, oh, it's not got dust filters and it's not got fans and that's not good enough, then quite simply, guys, the case isn't for you. I would personally say this is a project case. This is something for someone with a bit of time, a bit of enthusiasm, and a bit of imagination, really. Because with a case like this, you have to have a vision for it. My only gripes would be the offset plate in the bottom. I would say offset it a little bit more, help it clear motherboards, and if it was in the top, help it clear memory as well. That could make a big difference for water coolers. The only other thing, I don't particularly like the silver profiles on the side. I think if it's a white case, I think they should come in white and it should all match. But again, if it bugs me that much with this, then I probably would have built it, got an idea of what I wanted to do, and then taken it apart and painted it. So essentially with this, Like I said, it's not perfect. It's not a mass-produced case either. They're done in very small batches. They're currently sold out, but they are going to be having more coming in when the R80, which is the ATX case, comes in stock. Because of the fact that they don't make gazillions of them, that's one of the reasons why the price is going to be maybe slightly higher than we are used to. But the fact it brings all the water cooling options in and the customizing, customability, however you want to phrase it, that's one of the reasons why it comes in my eyes, as being an enthusiast case. And that's why I decided to give it our Enthusiast Grade Award, because essentially it's one of those ones where quite often with me, I end up seeing a case where it's not quite perfect, but it means that it gives you something to do, and it just sparks off little ideas in my head. And with this one, you know, the fact that it could do with some dust filters, and it could do with this, it could do with a bit of paint, but then also the fact that they've made the colour changing options for you in the front really simple. The cabling you might kind of get annoyed about. I would personally see that as a challenge, which is why I would be there with cable combs till the end of the day, you know, trying to get it all done. I just didn't have any that could go on these at the time. So that's pretty much it. And one of the good things about the HexGear stuff is they've worked incredibly closely with a wide range of modders. B-Neg being one of them. He did an amazing build in this with a res at the front, and it was just absolutely nuts. So if you're ever looking for some inspiration, there are some iconic modders that were given these cases right at the very beginning of the HexGear history. They gave them to the modders so that they could work on them, and then that would then in turn give, you know, end users a chance to go in and pull some inspiration, get some ideas, all that type of thing. So to recap very quickly, yes, it's expensive, but I've explained about the small batch. This really is a case for someone, you either like the HexGear layout and you've just got to have it because you want to be different from your friends, or the other side of the coin is you see it and you're like, I could do so much with that, because they have made customizing it really easy by the fact that it just unbolts and you can just take it apart and change bits and move it all around. So it's a brilliant case. I'm thoroughly excited about seeing what the the ATX case brings. So if M-ATX isn't for you, remember that the ATX will be coming shortly, so stay tuned for that. We'll probably end up putting news about it on the OC3D website. But congratulations, HexGear. We got there in the end. I'm sorry I lost a plastic feet for the bottom. Totally my fault, so remember that as well. It would be sat off the desk normally. This is my fault. But because of that, it would be really easy to add some feet to the bottom of this, because you can just drill that bottom plate, slide it out and add the feet on. That's one of the brilliant things about this, is they have made it really easy for you to make it your own. And for that reason, it's why we awarded it the OC3D Enthusiast Grade Award. So this has been my first case review in the new office. I'd like to hear your thoughts on underneath. But for now at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out.